Welcome to Entrepreneur UK. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Karolina Pelc, a founder, investor, and an author. Karolina has built a whole career defined by bold decisions and unconventional paths. From starting on the casino floors to founding and exiting a venture-backed tech company in under 3 years. Her journey challenges the idea that success is never linear and driven by luck. Today, she works closely with early stage founders, both as an investor and mentor. And through her book, Her Play, Make Your Own Luck, she explores the mindset behind Musk, resilience, and what it really takes to build something from nothing. Karolina, reflecting on the recent feature in the magazine, you resisted writing the book for quite some time. Why is that?
You know, it's contradictory for me because I resisted writing it. At the same time, I've always wanted to write the book. I just didn't know, what would be the ending of the book. I've lived a pretty full life, I have to say. Living in different countries, changing continents by chasing growth and opportunity. And a lot of people told me it was an interesting story, but I just didn't have enough confidence to write it. I'm not a native English speaker, and I wrote the book in English in the end.
Incredible.
And I didn't have the ending. So I think when the exit of the company happened, it gave me that urge to end the book on, or so I thought, because actually when I started writing, I didn't get to the company and startup part. It became the history or the memoir of becoming an entrepreneur rather than being one already. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey of how the feeling develops in you, and at some point you just can't stop it anymore. It starts to be so strong that you stop fighting it.
Okay, I see. And what was the point where you were like, okay, right, I want to write this book? What was the ending point that you were like, right, this is it?
It was Necker Island. I went to an impact retreat on Richard Branson's island where I met a plethora of amazing people with a lot of impact on the world. And it was the very first time that I heard from people from outside of my ecosystem and outside of my gaming bubble that they find the story really empowering and inspiring and something that is worth sharing to pay it forward, to encourage others and give them source of inspiration. And it was on that island that I had a friend that was launching his book on the final gala. And I looked at him standing there with his book and I saw the pride in his eyes. And I just saw how fulfilled he was by
Okay.
this dream of being an author. And that is exactly when I decided, right, I'm writing my book and I will also launch it here. I will come back here
Beautiful.
next year with my own.
Incredible stuff. And you said that you kind of went through a lot of different countries before. You grew up in a lot of different countries. So can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so I left Poland when I was about 19. I worked in casinos over there for over a year, and I came to UK in that very first wave of immigrants when we joined the European Union. But I didn't stay long because I was in London for about a year when I heard about the opportunity to go and work on cruise ships. And as
Okay.
a 20-year-old back then, it just sounded like an amazing adventure. So I went and did that for over 3 years. That took me all around the world and to places like Alaska, Ushuaia,
Ooh.
you name it, I've been there.
So you live the
Uh,
dream life.
yes, the
Okay.
dream life, absolutely dream life. Although the book also goes into the downside and the dark sides
Of
of
course.
being in that kind of service job and being away from home and so on. Then I came back to London and I worked a little bit in London. Then I went to Philippines and lived in Manila for over 2 years.
Wow.
From Philippines, I moved to Malta and I
Okay.
spent over 6 years in Malta. Then I moved to Spain. I lived in Spain. And then from Spain, I moved back to London, where I'm currently based, but also considering my next move in the next year. So
Incredible. So where did the decision of becoming an entrepreneur come from? Like what was the starting
it was
point?
very much Malta because Malta
Okay.
is a very entrepreneurial island. It's got a really beneficial sort of entrepreneur setup. So there's a lot of people coming to found companies over there, especially within my industry. And it was the very first time that I was exposed to that founder mindset, seeing them in action. And I landed a job for a company that was just coming out of its startup phase,
Okay.
where I had direct opportunity to work with the two founders responsible for product vision and bringing the
Right.
company to market. And I observed them in action all the way to IPO and then an acquisition. And I think that was the biggest business school that I could have ever gone through, seeing them up
Incredible.
close and seeing them in real action, you know?
Okay, incredible stuff. Now, what was the hardest part of translating your lived experience into a book?
It was the lack of confidence on authority, you know, because I wanted this book not to be a playbook. There's plenty of books on the shelves about the traditional narrative of success, you know, 10 steps how to get rich, 10 steps how to sell the company. I didn't want this book to be that.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be an easy read that you can read on the tube, on the beach, you know, at home by your fireplace, that tells interesting, funny, and quite often self depreciating stories of my life, but that each story carries a lesson of what my sort of main takeaway from that life situation was. So it was not easy to structure the book in a way that reads seamlessly, but also it's very clear what the value for the leader is for the reader is at the end.
Okay.
But I think we got there, and from the feedback from the beta readers, I think the structure is exactly what I wanted it to be. So
Fantastic. And what do you want people to learn from the book?
there are a couple of main takeaways, and I like to refer to myself because before I wrote the book, I also wrote certain things on myself. So my main takeaways would be when life gets difficult, don't let it take you down, and that's illustrated by my own tattoo, which
Beautiful.
means don't let the bastards grind you down.
Oh, go girl.
And that is not just about people, although some as well, but it is
Okay.
very much about self-limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, fear of failure.
Yeah.
So that's the main takeaway. And the second one is a reframe on fear, which
Mm.
is my second tattoo. Actually, it's here. Rather than thinking, what if you fall when you're standing on the edge of taking a really big leap, think, what if you fly? Because that's going to execute
Incredible.
a very different response from your body. It's based on neuroscience, and I think it will help you overcome that fear much easier than if you focus on the negative outcome.
Absolutely. Do you feel like you've had a few downfalls during your journey?
I had more downfalls than I had wins. And I think
Okay.
this is exactly why I wrote the book, because when I sold the business, the question that kept coming up again and again was, how did you do it? How did you sell the company so fast?
Yeah.
And with this book, I'm trying to communicate to people that there is no such thing as overnight success, that you always only see the tip of the iceberg. I have fallen and gotten up multiple times, and I have fallen hard
Okay.
and, you know, tried even harder after. So I think this was the objective, to explain to people there is no way to achieve success in a smart way. It takes hard work, and mine was very hard. So I feel fully deserving of the success I've achieved now because I've traced my own journey, and I can very honestly say to myself, I've earned it.
Was there ever an obstacle that you faced that you were like, I just want to give up?
Absolutely, at every single part of my journey. But I think the biggest one was in the startup, because
Okay.
even though I was prepared for the hard work and I thought I had it all figured out because I worked in corporate in pretty senior positions and in senior leadership, I think when it comes to raising investment, the number of ghosting and rejection and complexity, you know, associated with that, and then having a team that grew very quickly from 5 to 12 to 25 to 50 completely overwhelmed me.
Yeah.
And there was a moment in which I thought to myself, I'm not sure if I can handle all of this combined: the rejection, the responsibility for getting the funding for a company, the satisfaction and complaints
Yeah.
from the team, and maintaining that team. It was just so much that there was a moment I thought, I don't think I can do it. But the problem is, in a startup, it's not a job that you can just quit and walk away, because it's not just you.
Of
There is
course.
external capital at play, that you've made promises to people. There is people that you've made promises to that came to work for you.
Yeah.
So you don't have that luxury to walk away, which is a lesson on its own, I guess.
Absolutely. And your book is very much based around the fact that you should not believe in luck. Why is that, Carolina?
I think this is the main realization that I had after the exit. And this is why I made it a tagline of the book. It goes back to the fact that luck is often romanticized, and people mistake luck for divine fortune, something
Okay.
that you're given. And I'm trying to challenge that in my overall thought leadership, in my keynote speaking and the book, that luck doesn't meet you sitting still. Luck only meets people that create opportunity for luck to land, that are constantly moving, that are working to create forward momentum. And
Absolutely.
that is how you make your own luck. And I prefer to refer to the concept of luck as engineered serendipity, because when you refer to this as such, it's easier to people to comprehend that this is a something that you've earned, something that you worked for, not something that met you completely at random.
Yeah. Isn't there a very famous Polish saying that the way you lay your bed is the way that you will go through life?
Exactly.
It's
There
very,
is.
very, yes, my family always tell me that.
Yeah, there is.
In Polish, it's jak sobie pościelisz, tak się wyśpisz.
Absolutely, there is.
And I think there's an element of truth in that with what you've just said. I think it really kind of hits
Yeah.
the point. Okay, and in terms of your book, there's a lot of, like you said previously, there's a lot of books on the shelf that kind of very much promote, oh, there's 10 ways of getting successful. How is your book different?
I think the difference is in the fact that I'm not trying to teach people anything.
Yeah.
I think that those journeys are so circumstantial and so different between one another,
Yeah.
that someone that is not a serial entrepreneur like myself, because I've only done one startup regardless of my 20 years in corporate, I don't think I'm in a position to teach people how to achieve something. I don't know the nature of the business. I don't know their mindset. I don't know their personality traits, right? So I can only share what worked for me. And I think this book is different because it goes deep into subjects that are quite rarely explored in business books and in business context in general, like neuroscience, which is a little bit more often these days, but it wasn't a couple of years ago. But also epigenetics and
Yep.
the difference between our personality traits that are inherited versus developed, and what shapes certain things like resilience, like confidence. Does family trauma play a part in how we handle risk, and how can we break those cycles to handle it differently?
Yep.
So when you look at the combination of these elements plus the humor of the book, because I will say completely and humbly, this book is funny.
Amazing. We love
You
that.
know, it just is a different genre, because
Okay.
it's blending a couple of different genres. It's got cliffhangers. So, and I've read all the business books out there, so I can confidently say it's very different.
Amazing, very interesting. I'm very excited to read it. And my question is, if would there be anything that you would do differently on your journey?
No, because I believe in synchronicity, and I believe in things happening for a reason. So although I've made many mistakes and many of them has cost me more than I would have liked to, I don't think I would have changed anything, because each one of those things that looked like a mistake at the time turned out to be data point, turned out to
Okay.
be a lesson that years later I could figure out how to apply to the next hardship or challenge that I was facing. So no, and I think this whole butterfly effect. I don't know if you've seen the movie. You know, if you try to
Beautiful
fix
movie, yes.
things in the past, there will be something else that will go not according to plan. So
Of
you just
course.
need to be adaptive and be able to pivot and react fast to those difficult situations, even when they are very uncomfortable. But I don't think there is a linear path of how to get from point A to B when it comes to entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. And based on all your lived experiences, how do you think in today's day and age, do you approach situations? Do you approach decision making, opportunities? What is your approach towards all these situations?
I think after, and it's not after the exit, because the exit was definitely a validation for me, you know, that I've achieved something that I set out to do from the beginning in quite fast period of time. But it was after writing the book that I realized that the mindset is the key element. And that's why the book is called Her Play, because it discusses the 7 different elements of mindset that can help you succeed. And one of the things that landed really well with me is abolishing the self-limiting beliefs of I can't.
Absolutely.
So I now just think all the time, yes, I can. And if I don't achieve something, I'll worry about it then. But until then, I'd like to think of myself as quite unstoppable.
Absolutely. And you should think that way. It's incredible. I mean, come on, you've written a whole book and everything that you've come through. I mean, this is beautiful. And lastly, if there was one piece of advice that you'd have for our entrepreneurs today, and for this one, you look at the camera because it's
Sure.
directly at the audience. If there's one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't wait until you're ready. You're never going to be ready. So just, you know, figure out the right point in your life where you're ready to take the leap, not necessarily ready with the business, with the product, or ready to start raising. Just decide when you're ready to take that risk and take that jump. That's the most important decision, and everything will go from there.
That's amazing, wonderful. And now a bit of a fun question for you. Are you ready for this one?
I don't know.
If there was a song to describe your entrepreneurial journey, what would you pick?
Oh, that's easy, because there is a chapter in my book that is titled with a song that has been something that, not just my entrepreneurial journey, but in general, my career journey. And that's She Drives Me Crazy by Fine Young
Okay.
Cannibals.
Okay.
Because I have driven more people crazy that I can remember. And sometimes it's just worth to drive people crazy on your own path when you're backing
Absolutely.
yourself and betting on yourself.
Thank you so much, Karolina. It was such a pleasure. And one last question for you is, where can I get this book?
Thank you for having me, first of all. The book is available for pre-order on Amazon right now. It launches commercially on the 9th of June. It would mean the world to me if you support the launch of this one, and I can guarantee you will take away value from reading this.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.